Let's talk about absolute value. So when you see something that looks like this, where you see two vertical bars and maybe some number in the middle, like we'll say -5, that's asking us to find the absolute value of -5. So, and when we want to represent the distance from zero, okay, for a particular number, that's what we do. We use what are called absolute value symbols. And they look like vertical lines around the value. And so the example here that I have, absolute value of -5, is asking the question, what is the distance of -5 from 0? And so a lot of times when people learn absolute value, they'll just learn, well, all you have to do is take away the negative sign and that's the answer. And that's true. I mean, the absolute value of -5 is 5, but when we think about what it actually means, it's saying, okay, well, if we think about where -5 would be, which would be right here on the number line, how far away is that from 0? Well, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units away. And if we had the absolute value of +5, so we're on the other side of 0, if we said to ourselves, well, how far is that away from 0? Well, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's also 5 units away from 0. So the absolute value of +5 is 5, and the absolute value of -5 is 5. And yes, you can remember that, whenever you have absolute value bars around a negative number, then that just equals the positive version of that number. And so let's look at two examples. So write each of the following without absolute value symbols. So the absolute value of -4.2. So it's on the left side of 0, the number line. How far away is it from 0? Well, it is 4.2 units away. How far away in example B is 0.2 away from 0? Well, it's 0.2 units away from 0. What's the absolute value of 3? It's 3 units away from 0. Absolute value of -43 would be 43 units away from 0. So you can see in all of these examples, our answer is always whatever digits are in between those absolute value symbols, but if we have a negative sign, we just don't include that. For example 2, identify all possible values of x that will make the equation absolute value of x equal 4 true. And so you could think about, that x, we're putting numbers in place of x. So let's think of numbers that we could put there where that would be true. I can come up with an example that would definitely not be true. So say, for instance, x is -3. The absolute value of -3 is 3. That's not the same as 4, so that doesn't work. The only thing that's going to work here is if we could put 4 in the middle. We could take the absolute value of 4, so that's just 4. So that is a true statement, so that number works. Another option would be if we put -4 and we took the absolute value of -4, because the absolute value of -4 is 4. So that also works. So our answers here are x equals 4 or x equals -4. And those are the only values that would work for x in that equation.